Lennox Claudius Lewis, CBE, is a former professional boxer who competed from 1989 to 2003. He is a three-time heavyweight world champion, having also held the lineal championship, and remains the last undisputed heavyweight champion. Lewis holds dual British and Canadian citizenship. As an amateur, he represented Canada at the 1988 Olympics, winning a gold medal in the super heavyweight division after defeating future world champion Riddick Bowe in the final. In his first 3 years as a professional, Lewis would win several regional championships, including the European, British, and Commonwealth heavyweight titles. After winning his first 21 fights, he defeated Donovan Riddick in 1992 to take over the #1 position in the WBC rankings. The following year, Lewis was awarded the WBC title due to arch-rival Riddick Bowe refusing to fight him. 3 defenses of the title were made before an upset knockout loss to Oliver McCall in 1994. Lewis avenged the loss in a 1997 rematch to win back the now vacant WBC title. A further 4 defenses were made, during which Lewis won the lineal championship by defeating Shannon Briggs in 1998. 2 fights against Evander Holyfield in 1999 saw Lewis become undisputed heavyweight champion by unifying his WBC title with Holyfield's WBA and IBF titles, as well as the vacant Bowe title. In 2000, the WBA stripped Lewis of the title when he opted to face Michael Grant instead of mandatory challenger John Ruiz. Similarly, Lewis was forced to vacate the IBF title in 2002 after refusing to face mandatory challenger Chris Bird. Another upset occurred in 2001 when Lewis was knocked out by Horsam Rahman, but this defeat was again avenged later in the year. In 2002, Lewis defeated Mike Tyson in one of the most highly anticipated fights in boxing history. Prior to the event, Lewis was awarded the Ring Magazine heavyweight title, which had been vacant since the late 1980s and was last held by Tyson. In what would be his final fight, in 2003, Lewis defeated Vitaly Klitschko in a brutal, bloody encounter. He would vacate his remaining titles and retire from boxing in 2004. Lewis often referred to himself as the pugilist specialist. During his boxing prime he was 6 feet 5 inches tall, with an 84-inch reach, and weighed about 245 pounds. He is regarded by many as one of the greatest heavyweight boxers of all time, and also one of the greatest British fighters of all time. In 1999 he was named Fighter of the Year by the Boxing Writers Association of America and BBC Sports Personality of the Year. Early life. Lewis was born on the 2nd of September 1965 in London, England, to parents born in Jamaica. At birth he weighed 10 pounds 10 ounces, and was given the name Lennox by the doctor, who said he looked like a Lennox. Lewis moved to Kitchener, Ontario, Canada in 1977 at the age of 12. He attended Cameron Heights Collegiate Institute for High School, where he excelled in Canadian football, soccer and basketball. In the 1982-83 school year, he helped the school's AAA basketball team win the Ontario Provincial Championship. Amateur career. Lewis eventually decided that his favorite sport was boxing. He became a dominant amateur boxer and won the World Amateur Junior title in 1983. At the age of 18, Lewis represented Canada as a super heavyweight at the 1984 Summer Olympics in Los Angeles. He advanced to the quarterfinals, where he lost a fight by decision to American Tyrrell Biggs, the eventual gold medalist. Lewis chose not to turn professional after the Olympics, and instead fought 4 more years as an amateur, hoping for a second chance to win a gold medal. At the 1986 World Amateur Boxing Championships, he lost in the preliminary round to Peter Stoimanov of Bulgaria. Lewis won the Commonwealth Games gold medal in 1986. After winning several more amateur titles during those years, he traveled to Seoul, South Korea for the 1988 Summer Olympics and achieved his goal. In the gold medal match, Lewis defeated future world champion Riddick Bowe by a second-round referee-stopped contest. He was Canada's flag bearer at the Games' closing ceremony. Professional boxing career. Early career. Having achieved his goal, Lewis declared himself a professional and moved back to his native England. He claimed he had always considered himself British, but many British fans regarded him as a Canadian at heart and a Briton for convenience. Quote, in 2015 Lewis explained, "When I turned pro, I had to go to the United Kingdom in order to pursue my career. The infrastructure to develop boxes wasn't in Canada then." Lewis signed with boxing promoter Frank Maloney, and his early professional career was filled with knockouts of journeymen. After he signed with American promoter Main Events, he won the European heavyweight title in 1990 against Frenchman Jean-Maurice Chanet. In his next fight in March 1991, Lewis won the British title against undefeated, world-ranked Gary Mason, and in April 1992 won the Commonwealth title against Derek Williams. Lewis was a top 5 world heavyweight. He defeated former WBA heavyweight champion Mike Weaver, 1984 Olympic gold medalist Tyrrell Biggs, former world cruiserweight title holders Glenn McCrory and Osvaldo Ocasio, and journeyman Levi Billups and Mike Dixon. WBC champion. On the 31st of October 1992, Lewis knocked out Canadian Donovan "Razor" Riddick in 2 rounds for the #1 contender's position in the WBC rankings. It was Lewis's most impressive win to date, and established him as one of the world's best heavyweights. Sportscaster Larry Merchant declared, "We have a great new heavyweight." The win over Riddick made Lewis the #1 contender for Riddick Bowe's heavyweight championship. Bowe refused to face Lewis, and held a press conference to dump his title in a trash can and relinquish it. On the 14th of December 1992, the WBC declared Lewis its champion, making him the first world heavyweight title holder from Britain in the 20th century. Lewis defended the belt 3 times, defeating Tony Tucker, whom he knocked down for the first time in Tucker's career, and he followed this with knockout victories over Frank Bruno and Phil Jackson. The Lennox Lewis vs. Frank Bruno fight was the first time 2 British-born boxers fought for a version of the world heavyweight title in the modern era. Lost to McCall. Lewis lost his WBC title to Oliver McCall on the 24th of September 1994 in a huge upset at the Wembley Arena in London. In the second round, McCall landed a powerful right hook, putting Lewis on his back. Lewis returned to his feet at the count of 6, but stumbled forward into the referee in a daze. Referee Jose Guadalupe Garcia felt Lewis was unable to continue and ended the fight, giving McCall the title by technical knockout. Lewis and others argued the stoppage was premature and that a champion should be given the benefit of the doubt. They also contended that Garcia, a Mexican referee working for the Mexican-based WBC, had been persuaded by promoter Don King to end the fight early if the opportunity arose, to bring back the heavyweight title to his promotional stable. In spite of the Lewis camp protests, Boxing Monthly editor Glenn Leach pointed out that Lewis only seemed to recover his senses once the fight was waved off, and that, in the opinions of everyone I spoke to at ringside, the decision was correct. After the fight, Lewis decided he needed a new trainer to replace Pepe Correa, who had become increasingly difficult to work with. Correa denounced Louis in public after being fired. Renowned trainer Emanuel Stewart, who had been McCall's trainer during the fight, was Lewis's choice. Even before the fight with McCall, Stewart had seen much potential in Lewis and immediately expressed a desire to work with him. He corrected several of Lewis's technical flaws, which included maintaining a more balanced stance, less reliance on his straight right hand, and a focus on using a strong, authoritative jab, the latter of which would become a hallmark of Lewis's style throughout the rest of his career. The partnership lasted until Lewis's retirement, both having mutual praise and respect for each other to this day. Regaining the WBC title in his first comeback fight, Louis was given a chance to fight for the mandatory challenger position within the WBC and won it by knocking out American contender Lionel Butler. However, at the behest of promoter Don King, the WBC bypassed him and gave Mike Tyson the first chance at the title recently won by Briton Frank Bruno from Oliver McCall. Bruno had previously lost to both Lewis and Tyson. Louis had the number one contenders slot in the WBC rankings when he knocked out Australian Justin Fortune, then defeated former WBO champion Tommy Morrison in October 1995, followed by Olympic gold medalist and former WBO champion Ray Mercer in a close majority decision in May 1996. Louis successfully sued to force Tyson to make a mandatory defense of the WBC title against him or force him to give up the title, winning a $4 million settlement from promoter Don King. Rather than fight Lewis, Tyson relinquished the WBC title to fighter Evander Holyfield. The WBC title was declared vacant. This set up a rematch between Lewis and McCall, who met on the 7th of February 1997 in Las Vegas for the WBC title. In one of the strangest fights in boxing history, McCall refused to box in the 4th and 5th rounds. He then began crying in the ring, forcing the referee to stop the fight and award Lewis the victory and the title. As newly recrowned WBC champion, Louis successfully defended the title during 1997 against fellow Briton and former WBO world champion Henry Akinwande, who was disqualified after 5 rounds for excessive clinching. Louis then met Poland's Andrew Golota, whom he knocked out in the first round. Louis retained the WBC world title in 1998 when he knocked out lineal champion Shannon Briggs in 5 rounds, and beat formerly undefeated European champion Zeljko Mavrovic from Croatia in a 12-round unanimous decision. Louis stated in 2006 that his fight with Mavrovic was the most awkward win of his career. Louis vs. Holyfield on the 13th of March 1999. Louis faced WBA and IBF title holder Evander Holyfield in New York City in what was supposed to be a heavyweight unification bout. Louis fought a tactical fight, keeping Holyfield off balance with a long jab and peppering him with combinations almost at will. Although most observers believed Lewis had clearly won the fight, the bout was declared a draw to much controversy. The raw statistics of the fight suggested the bout belonged to Lewis, who landed 348 punches compared to Holyfield's 130. Lewis also out-jabbed Holyfield 137-52. Judge Eugenia Williams, who scored the fight in Holyfield's favor, said she saw Lewis land fewer punches than Holyfield. Louis vs. Holyfield. The sanctioning bodies ordered a rematch. 18 months later in Las Vegas, the two men fought again in a more open and entertaining contest than the original fight, with the two boxers having some heavy exchanges from rounds 6 to 9. The punch stats, however, still clearly favored Lewis, who landed 195 punches to Evander Holyfield's 137 punches. Although interestingly, Lewis landed 119 power shots and 76 jabs, showing a definite shift in his tactics from the first fight when he focused more on the jab. This time around, the three judges did score the fight unanimously, all in favor of Lewis, who became undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. The British public voted Lewis the 1999 BBC Sports Personality of the Year. Reign as undisputed champion. After Lewis defeated Holyfield, the WBA ordered Lewis to defend the title against John Ruiz of Puerto Rico, who was then an obscure Don King fighter who had been made the WBA's #1 ranked contender. The WBA gave permission for Lewis to fight his WBC mandatory Michael Grant first if he would fight Ruiz next, to which Lewis agreed. Opposed to this, King challenged this decision in court on the basis of a clause in the Lewis-Holyfield rematch contract that said Lewis's first bout as undisputed champion would be against the WBA's #1 contender. Louis was therefore to be stripped of his WBA belt if he fought Grant first. It was because of this that the WBA instated its Super Champion title, giving unified title holders who also hold a WBA belt more time to defend against mandatory challenges. Louis proceeded to fight the 6 feet 8 inch American Michael Grant, who he considered the best contender available. He successfully defended his WBC, EVO and AMP IBF titles against Grant with a second-round knockout victory in Madison Square Garden in April 2000. Later that same year, Lewis knocked out South African Francois Botha in 2 rounds in London, before winning a 12-round decision against New Zealander and IBF mandatory opponent David Tua in Las Vegas. Louis vs. Rahman on the 21st of April 2001. Lewis was knocked out by 15-1 underdog Horsam Rahman in a bout in South Africa. Before the bout, Lewis had a role in the film Ocean's 11, in which he boxed against Vladimir Klitschko. Louis vs. Rahman 2. Lewis immediately sought a rematch with the new champion. However, Rahman, now being promoted by Don King, tried to secure another opponent for his inaugural title defense. Louis took Rahman to court, who honored the rematch clause in their contract. Rahman was ordered to honor the clause and give Lewis a rematch in his first title defense, while promoting the rematch with Rahman on ESPN's Up Close. The fighters got into a brawl similar to the one between Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier in front of Howard Cosell on Wide World of Sports. Louis regained the title on the 17th of November by outclassing and then knocking out Horsam Rahman in the 4th round of the rematch. Louis vs. Tyson on the 8th of June 2002. Lewis defended his title against Mike Tyson. Ticket sales were slow because they were priced as high as $2,400, but a crowd of 15,327 turned up to see boxing's then biggest event at the Pyramid Arena in Memphis, Tennessee. Tyson also had to pay Lewis $335,000 out of his purse for biting him at the news conference announcing the fight, which was originally scheduled for the 6th of April 2002 in Las Vegas. Las Vegas, however, rejected the fight because of Tyson's licensing problems, and several other states refused Tyson a license before Memphis finally bid $12 million to land it. By the end of the 7th round, Tyson was tired and sluggish, his face swollen and his eyes cut. He was knocked out in the 8th by a right hook. After the fight, George Foreman declared, "He is, no doubt, the best heavyweight of all time. What he's done clearly puts him on top of the heap." Quote, This was the highest-grossing event in pay-per-view history, generating $106.9 million from 1.95 million buys in the U.S., until it was surpassed by De La Hoya Mayweather in 2007. Both fighters were guaranteed $17.5 million. Lewis vs. Klitschko. In May 2003, Lewis sued boxing promoter Don King for $385 million, claiming that King used threats and bribery to have Tyson pull out of a rematch with Lewis in a fight on the card of a Lewis title defense. Lewis scheduled a fight with Kirk Johnson for June, but when Johnson suffered an injury in training, Lewis fought Vitaly Klitschko, the WBC's No. 1 contender and former WBO champion. Lewis had planned to fight him in December, but since Klitschko had been on the undercard of the Johnson fight anyway, they agreed to square off on the 21st of June. Lewis entered the ring at a career-high 256.5 pounds. Lewis was dominated in the early rounds and was wobbled in round 2 by solid Klitschko punches. Lewis opened a cut above Klitschko's eye with a right cross in the third round and gave a better showing from the fourth round onwards, with both fighters looking tired before the start of round 7. The doctor advised that the fight should be stopped because of a severe cut above Klitschko's left arm, awarding Lewis victory by TKO. Klitschko was leading 58-56 on all three judges' scorecards when the fight was stopped. Lewis was guaranteed $7 million and Klitschko $1.4 million. The gate was $2,523,384 from an attendance of 15,939 at the Staples Center in California. The fight aired live on HBO's World Championship Boxing and was watched in 4.6 million homes. Interviewed about the fight by HBO, Dr. Paul Wallace explained his decision. When he raised his head up, his upper eyelid covered his field of vision. At that point I had no other option but to stop the fight. If he had to move his head to see me, there was no way he could defend his way against a punch. Klitschko's face required 60 stitches. Because Klitschko had fought so bravely against Lewis, boxing fans soon began calling for a rematch. The WBC agreed, and kept the Ukrainian as its No. 1 contender. Lewis initially was in favor of a rematch. "I want the rematch. I enjoyed that fight. It was just a fight. We went at it. You have to play dollars and cents, but I'm opting more for the rematch." Negotiations for the rematch followed, but Lewis changed his mind. Instead, Klitschko fought and defeated Kirk Johnson on the 6th of December in WBC Eliminator, setting up a mandatory rematch with Lewis. Lewis announced his retirement shortly thereafter in February 2004, to pursue other interests, including sports management and music promotion, and vacated the title. Lewis said he would not return to the ring. At his retirement, Lewis's record was 41 wins, 2 losses and 1 draw, with 32 wins by knockout. Retirement. Though it was rumored in an article published by the Daily Mail on the 24th of February that he would return to fight Klitschko once again, Lewis quickly shot down those rumors on his personal website. In 2008, Lewis commented on a possible matchup with Riddick Bowe. "He waits until I'm in retirement to call out my name," said Lewis. "I will come out of retirement to beat up that guy. I'll beat him up for free." Along with Gene Tunney and Rocky Marciano, Lewis is one of 3 world heavyweight champions to have retired with no unavenged defeats. In 2008, Lewis was inducted into Canada's Sports Hall of Fame. In 2009, in his first year of eligibility, Lewis was inducted into the International Boxing Hall of Fame. He was inducted into the Ontario Sports Hall of Fame in 2012. Lewis worked as a boxing analyst for HBO on Boxing After Dark from 2006 until 2010. Outside boxing. In 2000, Lewis appeared on Reflection Eternal's debut album Train of Thought, giving a shout-out on the track Down for the Count. In 2001, Lewis had a role in the film Ocean's 11 in which he boxed against Vladimir Klitschko. In 2002, Lewis was reportedly offered £5 million by World Wrestling Entertainment chairman Vince McMahon to take up professional wrestling in his industry. His camp held discussions over a possible match with WWE superstar Brock Lesnar in February 2003 at the No Way Out pay-per-view event. Prior to the offer, Lewis was familiar with wrestling. He was part of the famous match held in the old Wembley Stadium between the British Bulldog and Bret the Hitman Hart for the Intercontinental Championship at SummerSlam in 1992, representing the Bulldog during his entrance while bearing a Union flag. In 2003, Lewis made a brief cameo appearance in the Jennifer Lopez and Al Cool J video, All I Have. In 2006, he appeared in the movie Johnny Was with Vinnie Jones. Lewis played in the World Series of Poker in both 2006 and 2007, and was knocked out without winning any money. Lewis appeared on NBC's Celebrity Apprentice in 2008. He came in fourth place. Lewis made a public service announcement against domestic violence for Do Something. In 2011, he was awarded an honorary doctorate from Wilfrid Laurier University in Waterloo, Ontario. Lewis is a supporter of his hometown football club, West Ham United. Personal life. Upon retiring from boxing, Lewis moved to Miami Beach with his wife, Violet Chang, a former Miss Jamaica runner-up. They have 4 children. Lewis told Aventurauso.com in 2007 that he is contemplating opening an international boxing academy, and perhaps one day starting a record label, but he has yet to embark on either endeavor. Lewis has a villa at the Trial Golf Club in Montego Bay, Jamaica. Lewis is an avid amateur chess player and funded an after-school chess program for disadvantaged youth, one of whom earned a university chess scholarship at Tennessee Tech. Amateur highlights. Record 75-7. Losses. Razor Ruddick avenged as a professional. Alexander Miroshnichenko, Ali Caden avenged in 1988 Olympics. Tyrrell Biggs avenged as a professional. George Luis Gonzalez avenged. Peter Stoimanov, 1983 Junior World Super Heavyweight Champion, represented Canada as a super heavyweight at the 1984 Olympics in Los Angeles. Results were: lost to Tyrrell Biggs points. 1985 silver medalist at World Cup competition. 1986 super heavyweight gold medalist at the Commonwealth Games in Edinburgh, Scotland. 1987 super heavyweight silver medalist at Pan American Games in Indianapolis. Lost to George Luis Gonzalez of Cuba in the final. 1987 won the North American Super Heavyweight Championship competition, defeating George Luis Gonzalez. Won the Super Heavyweight gold medal for Canada at the 1988 Olympics in Seoul, South Korea. Defeated Janis Sarenkovic forfeit. Defeated Riddick Bowe TKO2. Professional boxing record. Titles in boxing. Pay-per-view bouts. Styles from birth. Lennox Lewis, CM. Lennox Lewis, CM, MBE. Lennox Lewis, CM, CBE.